my name.
DeOndre.
DeOndre.
Hey, DeOndre.
The one and only. When they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther. You know, every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Oh, okay. So the other day I had made a video in regards to the New York City, city bike Karen. That has been the name that has portrayed upon this woman in regards to the whole bike situation where she was trying to take that young man's bike. And I definitely want to get some things straight because there is a vendetta that's been going on over the past, day or so, few hours. It all started with an update from the New York Post. Before I get into what her, attorney said and the quote unquote receipts that were put out from her attorney in regards to this whole situation with this bike, we do have a name. Okay, her name has come out. In the previous video that I made, her name wasn't really known. Now she did have a name badge around her neck as she was wanting to take the bike, but she then took it off. So the only real thing that you have is her place of employment, which was right there on her shirt. But her name is Sarah Jane Comrie. An article came out about maybe a day or two ago in which her attorney, Justin Marino, made a statement saying that she did have receipts in regards to the bike that she was fighting over with that young man, as well as a receipt for the bike that she had rented after she decided to get up from the bike and go home. And I want to actually talk about all of that, and I really want to set some things straight because there has been a lot of misconceptions out here, and obviously we know how the internet likes to do, and they just decide to want to go crazy. What's not going to happen is people going crazy around the internet trying to start some stupid stuff, okay? So after Justin Marino, her attorney, who is an employment attorney, by the way, that's also very, very important, and I'm going to get to that in a second, but he, Justin Marino, he's based out of New York, and he specializes in employment law. Once that article came out, mind you, they didn't share any of the receipts. It wasn't posted anywhere on their website, but there are pictures of it floating around like on Reddit and other places like that. I'm not really going to put the receipts in the video because this is an ongoing, situation and things like that. So I'm very aware that there is some legal action being taken in regards to this. Justin Marino did ask that the pictures not be shown, okay, because there have been a lot of media outlets that have been in contact with the lawyer in regards to this, because obviously, this has been a major update in the story. Obviously, I posted the video, and obviously I want to update you guys on what has already been put out there. Now, the attorney Justin Marino, as I just stated, is an employment lawyer. And the reason why that's important is because his whole job here is to help Sarah Jane Comrie, okay, who was the quote unquote Karen in this video, keep her job with NYC Health and Hospitals, okay? That's the employer that she works for. And the reason why he is put in place to help her keep her job is because the hospital that she works for already tweeted out and put out a statement in regards to her behavior. And I really want to focus on that because that's the one thing that's being lost in all of this rigmarole that you see on the internet. And that is partially one of the goals of her lawyer as her representation, is to obviously make her look like the victim, okay? It's to obviously make her look as innocent as possible. Okay, that's his whole job as a lawyer. He wouldn't be doing his job as her attorney if that wasn't what he was trying to do. Whenever you bring in an employment attorney, their whole job is to make sure that you're not mistreated by your employer, your rights aren't violated by your employer. So knowing all of that, we can understand that the employment attorney is really there as her representation to make sure that she keeps her job, her place of employment. In regards to what he presented to the New York Post, he presented 2 receipts to the New York Post, as well as other media outlets that asked for it. His request was that any of the receipts that he sent, the 2 receipts that he sent to the, obviously the New York Post, any of the receipts that he sent not be shown in any other publications or anything like that, which is why the New York Post didn't really put anything out there. That's why it's not posted on their site, okay? That was at his request. As far as those receipts, I did look at the receipts, okay? And at best, the receipts are inconclusive. You can't tell who rented what. That's number one thing. There's no account information. There's no phone logs. There's no phone record or anything like that. There's nothing indicating any of that. There's one receipt that shows that one receipt shows a bike that was locked and then unlocked within a minute. The other receipt shows a different bike, not the bike that they were fighting over, but a different bike, and that bike was taken out and it was ridden on for 25 minutes. And I'm assuming that's the bike that was used for her to actually go home. And that was the bike, that was the other bike that she had ended up renting when she pulled her phone out to actually rent that bike. So there's no indication of who rented the bike. So here is, again, what people are choosing not to pay attention to. People are so wrapped up in their own narrative of what they want to put out in the comment section that they are choosing. They're not blindly misunderstanding. They're choosing to not acknowledge this whole concept. The fact that he is an employment attorney states that he is trying to help her keep her job. And in doing so, it is his job to disrupt the narrative. Any narrative out there about her. Narrative is that her behavior was disgusting, to say the least, and that by screaming for help and acting like she was being, beaten up by the Avengers or by the X-Men or something like that, when in all reality, all they were doing was simply arguing over the bike. Nobody was attacking her. Nobody was hitting her. Nobody was being physical with her or anything like that. Now, the obvious question that has been posed to this attorney, and the obvious question that's been floating out there is, if that was indeed her bike, which is what people are believing now, is that was her bike. If that was her bike, then why did she at the time in that video pull out a receipt, pull out her phone the same way that young man did and say, hey, this is my phone, and say, hey, this is, my receipt, I rented this bike, this is for me. Why didn't she do that? I mean, the young man was doing it. I mean, he had his phone out damn near the whole video, and he was like, listen, this is my bike. This is my bike. This is, I paid for this bike. Now, it was put out there when these media companies asked her attorney, why didn't she do that? And basically his response was that it was so much going on in the moment, and she just didn't remember to show any receipts. That's a statement straight from her lawyer from these media outlets. But my whole thing with that is, if you did indeed get this bike and you rented this bike, that would have been the easiest way to solve all of this commotion and hoopla, is by literally saying and showing your receipt, not days after the fact. If you got the receipt right then and there, why not just pull it out the same way he did? Why not just do that? If it's truly your bike, right? That's the sensible, logical thing to think about, correct? Now, the lawyer saying that he, has receipts is not the same as he's saying that he has proof, okay? Especially the receipts that are floating out there on the internet. It is definitely not proof at all. And they definitely wouldn't hold up in any court of law. Let's talk about these receipts, right? Let's talk about these receipts, because everybody, seems to have it misconstrued and fucked up. Those receipts that the attorney has, apparently put out there and leaked out there to the internet, those wouldn't hold up in anybody's court of law at all. If he was in a courtroom, he would have to have receipts that irrefutably, undeniably link those receipts to her account. Now, when asked if the receipts have been verified by anyone, including Citi Bike themselves, the answer was no, okay? Citi Bike has been reached out many times by multiple media outlets out there, and they have yet, at least as of right now, haven't said anything in regards to the receipts and the validity of those receipts. Citi Bike themselves didn't even say anything, confirm any validity to anything. Now, the images that I've seen were heavily cropped. One of the other images were heavily redacted. On the second image, okay, again, I can't show any of this, but on the second image, you can see where and what station it was picked up from. But you can see it had been ridden for 25 minutes, and that was it. Everything else was redacted. You don't know who rented the bike. That is not proof, guys, okay? I'm gonna say it again. That is not proof. This is just a statement from her lawyer, okay? Lawyers are allowed to put out statements in regards to their clients. Happens all the time. It doesn't mean that they're not true, doesn't mean that they are true. It just means that it's a statement that was put out from her representation. And I love the people in the comments, and they've been circulating around YouTube and other outlets out there too. You know, I've definitely, sifted and searched through the comment sections of a lot of these different outlets that have reported on this story. It is amazing to me how dense people are. It is amazing to me how low the IQ of a lot of people in this world are. It is actually hysterical to me. Now, a lot of people were really butthurt over the video that I posted. Now, mind you, that video that I posted, the original video in which Sarah and the young men were fighting, that was viewed millions of times before I even got to it. So that means that there were several other people that were talking about the video way before I was. No one's defamed anybody. No one said anything crazy, okay? If anything, I gave my own opinion on the situation at hand, the way that it was presented in the video. And really, if anybody has defamed anyone, it's Sarah and the way she was acting in that video. It's really what all of this boils down to. Her actions in the video were disgusting. And they were trash. Anybody with eyes can see, even her employer, which is why they gave the statement they did, which is why she hired the attorney that she hired. And it's funny because her behavior in the video was telling one story, but yet the way that her attorney is putting out these statements and trying to paint this picture of her, it says another. So what about that? Also, her lawyer's statement isn't proof that those guys did anything wrong, okay? And there are a lot of, really brain dead takes out there in regards to this situation from people in comment sections all across the internet. And it's really, annoying, which is why I'm even making this video in the first place, because it has to be put out there. Again, when it comes to the stuff that I'm talking about, I like to try to, provide updates. And that is what this story did provide, was an update on the situation. And that's what this is. It's amazing because her lawyer comes out and says, oh, she has, these receipts. Now, mind you, the guy in the video hasn't, come forward with his receipt yet. He may not. The lawyer has already stated that they're not actually pressing charges on those young men at all.
Fairly investigate this, and if charges are warranted, bring them?
Quite candidly, we don't want charges for these individuals. My client has no ill will for these individuals. In fact, she wishes them the best.
So he's, more than free to come out and say, what he wants to do. Now, I don't know if he is going to or not. It's completely his choice. Until we have that side, it's apples and oranges, okay? It's apples and oranges to what we're comparing it to. It simply is just saying that at some point she rented a bike. Doesn't mean it was that bike. It doesn't mean it was at that time. None of that. It doesn't prove any of that. Everybody needs to understand that. So before y'all go running off in the comment section, but I know you're not going to listen to me, but before y'all go running off trying to go crazy and rip and run in people's comment sections, DMs or anything like that, just understand that what's important in this whole situation, and I even stated it in my last video, if she rented the bike or not, as up for debate. She could have showed proof at the time, because these receipts that are floating out there on the internet prove a goddamn thing. They don't prove shit other than someone rented a bike at a certain point. It doesn't prove she did it. It doesn't prove it was that specific bike at that specific time. This shows that a bike was rented. And the craziest part that's getting lost in all of this, which is a part of the attorney's job, is her behavior in all of this. I pointed that out in my last video. Her behavior in all of this whole commotion is the sole problem here. Okay, that's what's getting lost. He's trying to shift this narrative away from her behavior and the fact that she was acting in what I believe was very erratic, okay, very unnecessarily to the situation at hand. Screaming as if she was being jumped by, the Russian mob, yelling for help, and she's crying. And that led to all of this discussion. That led to all of this commotion, which also led to the video being viewed millions of times, and the conversation going in the direction that it went in the beginning, trying to get rid of all of that. Now, going to her employer, right, NYC Health and Hospitals, they tweeted out that her behavior, which is the sole focus of all of this, was disturbing. And from what I have read and from what I have seen, she has been placed on a leave, which is one of the options that I believe I stated in my last video in regards to her. I believe that she was either going to be fired, placed on some sort of leave, or something like that. That seems to be exactly what happened. The fact that her employer came out and made that statement shows that even they were disgusted and, you know, shocked at her behavior in that whole situation. And by behavior, okay, we're focusing on the fact that she was screaming help in the middle of New York City under by these black boys if they were attacking her, beating her up, or doing something crazy to her, which we all see in the video that was not the case. They kept calling her miss, they kept calling her ma'am, which you can clearly see in the video. You can clearly hear that in the video. Her as polite as you can be to anybody in that situation. It was the fact that her behavior seemed very intentional. The fake tears, screaming for help, all of that I've spoken about already is what people are having an issue with. And the fact that people can't wrap their mind around that really alarms me. It doesn't really shock me, but you know, it really speaks volumes here, because that is really what's getting lost in all of this. What she did in regards to her behavior was wrong. It was disgusting. It was bad, okay? Okay, bad Karen. Her attorney is saying that she had rented that bike. Okay, she could have easily whipped out a receipt the same way that man did, and everything, all of this would have been for nothing. All of this would have been for nothing. All of this would be as clear as day, and we wouldn't even be talking about this. But she did not do that. Not only did she not provide any receipts or proof in that moment, but she didn't mention at all that she had already rented the bike. That never came out of her mouth in the video. And even in the video that I posted, you can hear the guy that comes up, okay, the one that's on the phone. I did say in that last video that it appeared as if, and it was rumored that he may have been calling the cops. New York City police didn't receive any calls in regards to the incident. So for that part, you know, I'll take it back, because he didn't actually call the cops, but it was rumored that that's possibly what he was doing. But, you know, for that part, yeah, I'll take it back, because New York City police didn't say that they received any reports or phone calls in regards to the whole situation. My bad on that. However, when that other guy came up and was trying to sort things out in the midst of all of that commotion, he did say, hey, you know, you should reset the bike. Now the young man said he wasn't going to reset the bike, which means that it was on his account. Okay, you can only reset something if it's on your account. Only then. Mind you, we don't see her phone or any proof of anything in the whole video until damn near the very end of it, when she's getting ready to try and rent the next bike. It was literally right next to his. But you did try to see her take his phone. You did see that. How come in that moment she didn't say, hey, you know, these boys just are, you know, they're trying to steal this bike from me. Hey, they, you know, oh, they're just trying to take this bike. You see, this is my bike. You see, they're trying to take it. How come she didn't do that? And the message that her lawyer is putting out is saying that she rented the bike. She tried to pull it out. Those guys just came in and tried to rough her up, pushed her back into the rack, and then tried to, you know, take the bike from her. Now, if that is in fact true, that can be considered a crime. So why is she not pressing any criminal charges on them? That can be considered a crime. If all of that happened, then why is she not pressing any charges? I already told you the police weren't contacted in any way in regards to this. So I just wanted to kind of, you know, really talk about this, because, you know, there really seems to be a lot of BS going on. And, you know, the one thing that I'm not is a liar, okay? And that's just really all that we're doing, okay? Now, obviously, this is still kind of ongoing. I'll provide you some more updates on this. But until, you know, more updates are put out there from either her representation or the young man's representation, if he decides to, you know, have any representation, and, you know, that's what we're going to do. And we're just going to wait for this to kind of keep developing. As it stands right now, there's no proof of anything, y'all. I really need a lot of you guys, a lot of those people that are just running wild with the New York Post and what they said. Listen, that is not proof. Once again, the reality of most of the backlash is coming from her behavior and her body language while she was screaming for help in this crazy manner and acting like she was under attack when she obviously wasn't. We don't know what happened before, you know, the person pressed record, or after, you know, the video ended. There's nothing in the video that suggests that anything crazy except the word of her lawyer being reproduced in the post, and the lawyer has an obvious incentive to make his client seem as innocent as possible. I'm gonna look out for updates on this story, but I just wanted to kind of really dive deep into this, because it's just really annoying seeing some really brain dead people in the comments, not even just in my comments, but just in other people's comments on other videos and all of that. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, man. Stay lit, believe in God, believe in yourself. Everything else will work out for itself, man. Peace.